Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Sitrep podcast. I'm your host this evening, Oriskany Jim, and today we're going to take a look at some quick hobby. We are getting ready for some 50th anniversary commemorative wargaming for the Yom Kippur War, Ramadan War, October War, whatever your politics or your country of origin. There are different names for this conflict. The big war that took place between Israel, Syria, and Egypt beginning 6 September 1973. So the games are going to have to be played in September, so I have time to cut the videos, which means the models have to be built in August. These things are actually planned out, and they take a little bit of lead time to pull off. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started. I'll switch over to our camera view. Hopefully, come on, where's your camera view? There we go. Oof, that's a little rough. Alright, hold on, let me fix the... Try and get some kind of focus on there. Okay, so what we're working on today are Centurions, specifically Israeli Centurions. So, as a lot of people probably know, the that lighting still isn't great. Hold on, guys. Give me a second. Hopefully that looks a little bit better. It looks terrible for me, but hopefully that looks a little bit better for you guys. I wish there was a way to... The lighting in this house is terrible, so I apologize for that. Alright, so like we were saying, the Centurion battle tank was originally developed by the British. Very end of World War II. Way too late to see service in World War II. So be wary of anyone who tries to tell you that the Centurion is a World War II tank. That just isn't right. But it could have been if World War II had lasted another 2 to 3 years. But fortunately it didn't. And by the late 40s, the British had the Centurion commonly. I mean, there's all kinds of versions. The first main version that came out was the Centurion Mark III with the QF 20-pounder gun. I think it's like an 84mm cannon. I could be a little off on that part. And it was a good tank. Originally, I think it came out with the Meteor engine, which I think is what we see here on the engine decks. So it's close enough for our purposes, but it's not exactly accurate for what we're going to use these for. And yeah, the Centurion trundled on through a couple decades of British service. Where it really became famous, it was widely exported. It was used by the Australians in Vietnam, and perhaps, oops, sorry about that. Perhaps even more impressively, it was used by the Israelis first in '67, I believe, with the original, again, QF 20-pounder gun, and then when it really just became straight out famous as one of the best Cold War tanks in the business was in the '73 Yom Kippur War. In both theaters, the Sinai and the Golan, but especially in the Golan, it became just one of the most famous Cold War tanks that ever saw service. Okay, so I got... Oh, there we go again with the microphone. Sorry about that. So I got these 3D printed, and here's for the people I got this from. I got these from Hobby House and Miniatures. It was Jacob's Minis. Jacob Best is the guy who actually printed these out for me and sent them to me, and I wanted to give him a shout out because these were really good. And they have a lot of, if you're over here in the States, because shipping is a thing, clearly, and a lot of good 3D printing places are over in the UK. So cut down on shipping costs. If you can get them done on this side of the water, you're in pretty good shape. These guys do some pretty good work. They do 28mm stuff. They mostly do 15mm 1 to 100 stuff that you can use in Flames of War or Team Yankee. So that's why I found them. I think they're set up right down in Miami, so they're like right down the street, figuratively speaking. I got them super fast, very good price. I give them a great review, and I wanted to give them a quick shout out here on our stream because these actually came out really awesome, I find. So if you buy anything from these guys, the price is great. They come very clean. They're very sturdy. There was no cleaning required. It was actually a really good 3D print. Their guns, like their cannons, as you can probably see here, are a little chunky. Like a lot of 3D prints, the actual gun barrels are a little thick. It was okay for me because I didn't want the QF 20 pounder. I wanted the L7 rifle. I was going to upgun these anyway. So when the guns came in too thick or too large, it actually worked out great for me. All I had to do was round off this, shave off this little muzzle piece here and add my own bore evacuator. And there we go. I was actually really happy with the way these have come out so far. So, the eternal question, what color do you paint these things? We're now going to enter into the part of the stream where everyone argues what cyanide gray is. There's like 50 different shades of gray, and it's not even gray, it's more of a green / sandy khaki. Why they call it cyanide gray, I don't know. But yeah, this is a still from the recent HBO miniseries, The Valley of Tears, I think it's called. So yeah, this is the kind of color that I'm going for here. I also didn't want to paint it what I call, and by the way, don't go by Oriskany. I make up my own names for this shit, so don't go quoting me on other websites. What I call Golan green and cyanide sand. And if it's going to be in the north, it's Golan green. If it's going to be in the south, it's cyanide sand. And again, that's not really the accurate way to put it. As we can see here, this is so-called Golan green, and as you can tell, it's more of a sand color than green. But anyway, that's kind of what I'm going for here, because I want to be able to use these in both theaters. But the Centurion, although again, the Israeli Centurion did serve with great distinction in both the northern and southern theaters, but it became particularly famous in the north. I think a big reason is because the terrain up there was especially rocky, and as such, the Centurion was better at that. Centurion was a little bit slower than its main stablemate in the IDF. Oops, sorry about that little box there. That is going to be the American-made M48, or by the time you get to the 73 war, the M60. They are the Magach 3 and the Magach 6 in Israeli service. And this was called, the original one was called the Sho't, which I think means whip in Hebrew. And later on, you do see some of these in the Yom Kippur War. You do see what's called the Sho't Cal with a K. And again, I'm sorry about that. Wish I knew how to turn that off. Let me try something super fast. Alright, hopefully that'll get rid of that really annoying little blue box that keeps showing up there. Okay, anyway, the Sho't Cal. Cal was short for the Continental engine. Don't ask me why CAL or KAL is short for Continental. There is a reason for it. I don't remember it off the top of my head. But basically, they took out the Meteor engine and they put in an American Continental engine and installed an Allison suspension. And once you did that, this thing would move. Battlefield speaking, I mean, let's not get technical about the numbers, but as far as the battlefield performance goes, this thing would move pretty much as fast as the American M48s and M60s. So it redressed the one big weakness that the Centurion had versus the American tanks. Alright? And both the British and the American tanks had their original armament replaced. For the Americans, this was the old 90mm with the T-bar muzzle brake on it, and for the British, again, it was the QF 20 pounder. Cal is also Hebrew for easy. There you go. Maybe it was easier to drive. But one thing that the Centurion did have a little bit better than its American counterparts in the 73 war was it did a little bit better over rocky and uneven ground. And the Sinai has a lot of long open stretches of relatively smooth sand, so that was the Patton kind of ruled that end of the war. But up in the northern part against the Syrians, when you are fighting on the Golan Heights, it was a lot more rocky ground. It wasn't very sandy. It wasn't really a desert. That's why these tanks really need to be more of this greenish color you see here, a very, very pale green. And that's the reason you see, the Pattons do better. I'm sorry, the Centurions do much better up there. So, ooh, that did not work. Ooh, that sucks. I'll have to fix that later. I only put these new bore evacuators on earlier today, so might have a little bit of an issue with those. Okay, so like I said, these came in 3D printed. Normally, I'm not a big fan of 3D printing, I'm not going to lie. But these were actually pretty good. So what I was able to do was, again, they came in with QF 20 pounders, but like we see with a lot of 3D printing, the barrels were just way too big and way too chunky. So this would have been a problem if my intention was to go with the QF 20 pounder, but luckily for me and these models, what I was actually going for was an L7, so I just kind of left it alone. I did shave off that little bit of a muzzle that you see at the end, or that we saw at the end of the barrel, to give it more of that flush look that you see with the L7, or the M68A1 if it's the L7 built under American license. I'm not sure exactly where the Israelis purchased most of their guns, probably from both sources, to be honest. It's the same gun. It's just the M68A1 is what you call the gun when the Americans build it under British license. And I wanted to add the bore evacuators. So these bore evacuators, the very, very big, very distinctive bore evacuators that you see on the L7. There's a great picture of one there. That's what I was going for, and what I was able to use there was some double sheets of like 80-pound cardstock typing paper. So poster board was too thick. This 80-pound cardstock was too thin, so I basically had to do the 80-pound cardstock twice and make it flush. That was a bit of effort, I'm not gonna lie, but it went on there okay. I primed it black along the bottom and then gray along the top, dusted it with a very, very pale green, and then zenithal sprayed it very, very slightly with some desert tan. Because again, I'm going for that slightly, that dirty, sandy look of Golan green. So my lighting here to my hobby table right now really stinks. I'm blind as a bat right now. But if I actually put the light on there that I hobby with, you guys are going to be looking at like the inside of a nuclear explosion. It washes out the camera. It gets all screwed up. So I'm hoping that this color is coming through okay. It's a very, very pale green with, on the top, a little bit of sand dusted on top of it is kind of what I'm going for. So today I was hoping to either do some painting on the tracks or add some machine guns. I do have some old spare 30 caliber machine guns. One thing, this kit did not come with any machine guns because, again, I don't think the original Mark III had an external machine gun. Clearly the Israelis are going to add some of those, and basically I'm going to have to add those on there myself. Let me get this camera back in focus. Alright. Centurion has a large pin steel dead track. Patents have the rubber block live track system that didn't handle the rocky terrain of the Golan until they retro Merkava tracks onto the Pattons in the 80s. Yeah, I did know the details, but I did know generally, and this is reflected in games like Arab Israeli Wars and other games that we've featured here on the Sitrep podcast. Yeah, the Patton is faster as long as it's relatively smooth and sandy. Once it gets super rocky, the Israeli tank crews, company commanders, battalion commanders preferred the Centurion. Either the Sho't or the Sho't Cal. Probably the Sho't Cal would have been the best, because again, it had that improved American engine, and they switched out the suspension. That's almost the best of both worlds. Is the Sho't Cal. Some people call it the Baturian. I don't know why. It's like a blend of the Patton and the Centurion. Honestly, I just go with the Israeli name. It's their tank. They get to call it what they want. Sweet. Alright, so thanks for coming by, Damon. It's like super late where you are, and I know that for sure. Let's go ahead and start with some very basic hobby here. Things are getting kind of busy up in other parts of the country for other members of the team. Hence, I'm kind of covering for today. So apologies if the stream is a little rough and ready here. But we don't want to let a day go by without, one of our scheduled days go by. Alright, I'm going to give up and seep out this light again. Oh my god. Yeah, that's like super bright. Let me know if that's too bright for you guys. But it allows me to at least attempt to do some painting here. So, like I always say, I do my tracks in a very dark gray as opposed to a black. That way I can add some dark washing later. So hopefully you guys have seen some of the table photos. You know what, I'm going to change this music too. Jen, let me know if this new music is too loud or too soft. But I'm actually going to change out some of the music here. Something a little more mellow. Super mellow. Oh yeah. Oriskany After Dark. This will put Damon to sleep in no time. I'm going to turn off the music to where it's almost too loud. Jen, let me know if that's like legit too loud. So I've got I've got 5 of these, which I've converted into shots. I won't call them shot cows. I believe the shot cow, again with the Continental engine, is going to have a different engine jet. Oof. Different engine deck than what I see here. It doesn't really matter for game purposes. Want to get super technical, these would have, for the shot cow, if you wanted to do these as shot cows, they would have a different engine deck for that Continental engine. And as far as game purposes go, they would have a slightly enhanced movement rate. But that's usually more detail than I tend to get into. I'm probably going to use 7 Days to the River Rhine as a game system. Our club tends to actually like that. Oy. Today will be a pretty short stream because, again, I've been at work all day. I got other stuff I gotta I have to get done. I'm really just covering, to be honest. And also, I forgot to bring my power cord out here for my computer that I'm streaming with. So we're good for at least an hour, but I don't really want to stream for too much longer than that. You guys got other things to do, like hobbying. What's everyone else up to on their hobby table? Get a zoom in so you can see all about my sloppy painting. I'm overstepping on some of the road wheels here. I'm gonna have to clean that up later, clearly. But again, I'm kind of running a stream as well as painting, and I don't have the best lighting here, so doing the best I can. To be honest, by the time I dry brush and dark wash these models, these little oversteps don't really matter. Should probably get a bigger brush for these easy part of the tracks. Oh, I forgot to put this new music on loop. Oh, no I didn't. You get a slightly bigger brush to cover the big patches of real estate here. Jen, I wouldn't complain about the music too much. If you don't like it, I can put the Panzer General theme in. Drive you crazy for about 10 hours. Should probably put my paint somewhere else where I'm not constantly reaching over the camera. Oh, so I apologize. I got a little distracted. Yeah, I got 5 of these Centurions. So hopefully you guys have seen in previous streams, battle reports, videos, etc., where I've got a pretty decent Israeli force. I got M113s, I've got all kinds of patents, both the 90mm and the 105, so I'm pretty good on that stuff. For 73 conflicts anyway, this Yom Kippur War. One thing I never did have were any Centurions, so can't really have the IDF in that period without at least some Centurions. So I definitely wanted to get that. And I also got some Battlefront T-62s. I wonder if that box is handy. I can at least show you guys the outside of the box. Negative Ghost Rider. I don't see the box, but no worries. You guys know what Battlefront product looks like. Now, I did have to buy the... still kind of looking for it. I thought I had it handy, but no worries. I did have to buy the T70... I'm sorry, the T62M kit for Team Yankee. And I know what you're going to say. But I went to, different websites, watched some build videos, went to several online stores that were selling that kit, looked at the sprue, checked out some reviews, looked at the sprue, and made triple sure, double sure, quadruple sure before I bought it that the sprue for the T62M with the enhanced armor package, especially along the turret front, the Dolly Parton armor, so to speak, definitely made sure that stuff, definitely made sure that the sprue included the original T62 turret and not just the upgraded T62M. Because what I wanted was the original. You want to have the original for units like the Assad Brigade up there on the Golan Heights, for units like the 25th Independent Tank Brigade and in the Sinai. T-62s were in service in the Egyptian and Syrian armies in 73, but only in very select units, and they didn't see a whole lot of combat. Both both the Egyptians and the Syrians were rather hesitant to send them into combat because they were like the new hotness, and they knew that the Israeli tanks would kind of shoot the shit out of them, which is kind of what happened. Alright, so we got the basic tracks done on one of them. Is it under your mat? Nope, it is not. That is not the box I'm looking for. Those are some of my new Insurgents in 20 mil that I will be painting at a later date. Yeah, it's not a big deal. I mean, everyone here knows what kind of... yeah, only until they went bang. Yeah, they didn't do so great. But, strict historical accuracy aside, I am going to put a few T-62s alongside my huge force of T-55s, BTR-60s, all that good stuff in my Golan Heights game. Which might not be, completely historically accurate, but I'm not that worried about it. Huh. That friggin' thing has just up and vanished. Oh my god, it's literally right next to me. If it was a Claymore, it would have blown my face off. This is the kit I'm talking about. Alright, so this is not what you want for Yom Kippur War. So, before anyone goes off on me in the comments, I did buy the right thing. T-62M is the modernized version that you're going to see later on in the Cold War. Potential, war in Germany, all that stuff. The Team Yankee situation. The major differences are that extra armor along the turret face and the more advanced NSV 12.7mm heavy machine gun there on the turret roof. Not what I'm looking for. Fortunately, this kit does have, they're not going to show it to me on the end on the box here, but they do send you more than one turret on your sprue, and they send you the old Dushka 12.7 World War II era 12.7mm machine gun as well. So I'm going to build it with the old turret and the Dushkas. I'm going to paint them sand, and I'm going to use them for again those select Syrian and Egyptian units in my Yom Kippur games. I only have 5 of them. I've got like 12 T-55s. That's fine. These were definitely much more infrequently encountered on the battlefield. than the T-55 anyway. So that part of the game will actually work out pretty well. Israelis reported that the T-62 lower ground clearance than the T-55, and the Syrians grounding them out on the rocks in the Golan Heights. So I know Assad Brigade engaged a little later when the Israelis were counter-invading out of the Golan into southwestern Syria. Were any T-62s? I mean, I'm going to use them no matter what. But I'm curious to do a little bit of research to see if any T-62s were actually engaged during the epic battle that we all talk about. You know, Valley of Tears, October 6th through 8th, 1973. That Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, those first 72 hours of the war. I honestly don't know. I don't think so. It's not going to stop me from doing it on my table, because I got the miniatures down. I'm going to use them. I mean, let's not get crazy here. If anything, I consider myself an army painter, so when you see me using this absurdly large brush on a broad area of the tank, yeah, man, I got shit to do. I tend to, I mean, here I'm only doing 5, but I tend to paint tanks by the battalion, so. Or, that's a slight exaggeration, by the company. You could say I paint tanks by the battalion if you go by what Flames of War tends to call a battalion, but You guys know me, it wouldn't be a complete stream without taking at least one shot at Flaws of War. They do make gorgeous miniatures. I do really, especially all their new plastics. This is what Damon and I were talking about on Discord earlier today. I mean, I'm very happy with the Centurions I got, don't get me wrong. But what I was really gnashing my teeth about are those new, I'll say something nice about Battlefront, those new Swedish or Scandinavian Centurions that they're coming out with for Team Yankee. Now, Battlefront has had Centurions in the past for Fate of a Nation, and I think also for Vietnam, the Australian ones that I mentioned before. But I wasn't able to find any. I think they're discontinuing a lot of that stuff, which is a shame. And even when you do buy it, you don't get it in their new 5-box, you know, or their 5-tank boxes that are actually pretty great. They're like $45-50 for this box, so it comes out to like $9 or $10 a miniature. That's fine, because they are, you know, nice high quality, I won't lie. But that's not usually what you get when you dip into the older Battlefront stuff, when you can find it at all. What I find is when I try to get the old Battlefront stuff, I buy it out of the United States, obviously. They have their distribution center in Maryland, I think. So, you know, usage may vary, or experience may vary with other people in other parts of the world. But I've gotten a lot of bad crap out of that Maryland distribution center. When they have it in stock, first of all, they don't tell you if it's in stock or not. They only tell you it's on back order like 2 weeks after you were supposed to get it, which is annoying enough when you're just doing this as a hobby. When you're trying to run a YouTube channel and you need this stuff by a certain date to hit an anniversary or something like that, man, that shit pisses me off. And then when I do get it, it's this their older Battlefront stuff, which honestly isn't as good. I know some people like the old metal and resin stuff. Metal, resin, and plastic all mixed together in one big kit. Hell no, man. I can't stand that shit. All that said, their new plastic stuff, like this stuff, top shelf. I love the new Battlefront stuff. So I don't want this to turn into a, bash on Battlefront stream. Their new stuff is great. And when I saw that those new upgunned L7 armed Centurions for the Scandinavian factions and Team Yankee were coming out, I was like, oh, damn you to hell. Because that's exactly what I need, but they're not out yet. They're going to be out. I'm not sure what the timeline is, but they're coming soon. And again, I need these I need them now. Because I have to be able to build them now, game with them, and record them in September so that I can cut together the videos to hit the 50th anniversary of Yom Kippur War at the beginning of October. October 6th, 1400 hours local is when this war started. So we're going to be trying to put out videos of, completed tabletop play. Again, we're probably, because our last big Yom Kippur game, also using the 7 Days to the River Rhine system, was on the Sinai front. This time I wanted to do Golden Heights. So clearly I needed Centurions. But yeah, those new quote-unquote Scandinavian Centurions are like exactly what I need. They're just not here on time. They're not available yet, from what I'm understanding. But it all worked out well, because I wound up getting these 3D prints from Jacob Best. Off of eBay. I'm now forgetting the name of the company again. Let me make sure I get this right. Hobby House and Miniatures LLC. You find them on eBay, and again, they're actually pretty good. They make stuff in 15 and 28 mil. Just one tiny thing, in case it bothers you, bear in mind, their guns are super thick and juicy. That's fine at the club, so to speak. Maybe not so much at the on the actual miniature, if you're trying to build like technically accurate miniatures. Again, here it worked out because I was planning on replacing the guns with larger guns. So when the guns came in, air quote, a little too big, for me it worked out perfectly. And I didn't even have to build the whole L7 from scratch like I had to do on these hunks of shit. The one good part on these M48 Magog 3s are the parts I had to build myself from scratch. Because look at those wheels, man. These 3D miniatures, look at that difference. Talk about, there's a wide range of quality when you go to buy somebody else's 3D prints. And one more really cool thing about these minis. Has anyone else noticed this? When you buy a 3D printed miniature, the goddamn turret cylinder, or whatever you want to call it, never fits in the turret. It's always so tight, you can literally hear it squeak. And that's before you prime it and you paint it and you add like 4 layers of paint to it, and now it won't fit in there at all, and you have to sand it down and it gets all skinned up. And these, even after a pretty good priming and paint, fit in there smooth as glass. In fact, if anything, they're a little loose, but that's how I like them. I like them thick and loose. I apologize, except not really. But in all seriousness, yeah, that part of the miniature, works great. Whereas a lot of times when I look at 3D printed miniatures, that's always a pain point. These just reported. Just check my reference book on T-62s on the Golan. T-62s are knocked out in the anti-tank ditch along the purple line. Sweet, we're good to go. Also knocked along the perimeter of 188th Brigade HQ in the southern Golan. Well, awesome. I probably won't be doing 188th. Yeah, maybe. I might do 188th as well. Damon, you know what battle I'm doing. My boy, Kahalani, Oz 77. I think Damon's the one guy in the community who likes the Airbus Relay Wars as much as I do. Sent me that great book on crossing the Sinai. The only thing that bugs me about that book is that it's not like put together in chronological order. It's, different perspectives from all over the timeline. So I'm always like flipping back and forth. Wait a minute, who is this guy again? Where the hell's his brigade? Where is he? He was here yesterday. Oh, we are yesterday. Okay, never mind. Damn it. It's one of those books. It's written like a Christopher Nolan movie. Which taxes my poor brain. My brain is already hurting for certain. Sweet. So, cool. I know the Assad Brigade had these, the T-62s I was mentioning. I know Assad Brigade wasn't there in that first big push, but clearly there were some other units that had them as well. That's going to be 3rd Mechanized, no, 3rd Armored, 7th Mechanized, 9th Mechanized. The 3 initial, I'm probably getting those wrong. Those 3 initial Syrian divisions involved in that big push into the Golan at the outset of that war. Later on, you would have some Jordanians, you would have some Iraqis, the rest of the Syrians. They really hit that. They hit those guys really, really hard. Although, actually, I take that back. The Jordanians and the Iraqis kind of really only got involved later in the conflict when Israel had shut down the threat on the Golan and were now counterattacking or counter-invading back into Syria proper, I believe starting on the 11th, October 1973. And I think once other nations, like most notably, although certainly not all, but most notably, I know the Iraqis sent in a whole brigade of T-55s. They lasted about 5 minutes. The Israelis were killing Iraqi T-55s in 73 almost as fast as U.S. Marines were killing them in the Gulf in 91. With basically the same tanks. At the very least, the same guns. always use, well, I don't always, but I tend to use very mellow music on my streams. Because my other videos are usually battle reports, or game videos, gameplay videos. And, because there's, you know, actual combat on the table, I tend to use, more bombastic music for that stuff. Oops, sorry about that. I keep hitting the, I have a new mic, and I keep hitting it with my hand here. And then the Jordanians got involved. And I believe you have, I think the Royal Jordanian Army was still using the older Centurions. If you want to see the older Centurions in historical, like large-scale combat, you can look at the Jordanians. Believe it or not, most famously, they were not fighting Israelis. A little bit before the Yom Kippur War, you have something called the Black September War. This is September 1970, and this is this incident, this small war, took place in northern Jordan. Is where the terrorist group would eventually draw its name from. I believe those are the guys who took out all those people at the '72 Olympics. This was the war from which that group drew its name. So a lot of Palestinian refugees had been driven into neighboring countries. You got stuff like the Gaza Strip, Khan Yunis, Gaza itself, Rafah, and stuff like that down along the Mediterranean coast. A lot of them went into southern Lebanon, and a lot of them went into Jordan. Especially after the West Bank was taken by the Israelis in the previous '67 Six-Day War. And once there, you know, most of the people were just trying to get by. I mean, they were living in a refugee camp, for God's sake. You know, but of course, there's always some people in there, embedded in that population, that are going to take it upon themselves to, you know, hit back or do whatever. Launch terrorist attacks, basically. And then the Israelis respond against those. Basically, the Israelis are now bombarding and sending tank incursions, mechanized infantry incursions, paratroop incursions, all this stuff into, when I say paratroopers, I mean helicopter-borne light infantry, into Jordan to clean out these terrorists. Well, it's King Hussein's, you know, sovereign, you know, Jordanian territory. And he's getting sick of this. And the Israelis are like, well, then handle it, bro. I mean, these people are attacking out of your territory. If you're not going to handle it, we're going to. So, I mean, to his credit, King Hussein tries to handle it, to sort it out. And he sends in his army to the West Bank, into some of these refugee camps, trying to identify and arrest or clean out some of these people that are, I mean, never mind whether or not you believe in the Palestinian cause or not. King Hussein's perspective was, my country is being bombed by a far superior military force all the time because of you guys, and I'm sick of it. And so he basically had to invade his own country. By then, the Palestinian refugee camps, the beginnings of, it wasn't really the PLO yet, it was more the PLA, and other groups. They were basically a state within a state, especially in those areas bordering on what used to be the air quote West Bank. And it was just, King Hussein was just, the king of Jordan was just, enough of this shit. I have to, do something about this. So, again, he, in September of 1970, again, he didn't want to be involved in the 67 war. He was coerced by the Syrians. Literally, they threatened his life. King Hussein was I don't want to say a hobbyist, but he was a private pilot, is one of the things he liked to do. And he would just get up in his, private plane when, the office work was getting him down or whatever. He was getting pissed off in the office, or his little throne room, or his government was getting on his nerves. He would just get in his plane and, just fly around. That was his way to unwind. It must be nice to be the king of your own country. And, he's just tooling around up there, and he winds up, now the Syrians were asking him, this is back in 67, I'm on a bit of a tangent here. The Syrians are pressuring him, like, hard, to jump into what's going to become the 67 war. And he's like, no, dude, I share a long border with the Israelis, they're much more powerful than I am. I'm trying to hold my country together with two hands. I don't need a huge war that I'm going to lose. And he gets stressed out, these guys won't leave him alone, he gets in his plane, and he just goes to fly around to just kind of, forget about it for a while. While he's up there, he gets intercepted and kind of, forced to land by a huge swarm of, not a huge, but at least a squadron's worth of Syrian fighters. And when he lands at the tarmac, the Syrian ambassador is standing there waiting for him, saying, do you want to talk about this again? Yeah. So, to call Jordan a reluctant partner in the whole 1950s, 60s, and 70s coalition against Israel is an understatement. A lot of people who live in Jordan were extremely anti-Israeli. Because, again, a lot of them were refugees, or new refugees, or their family were refugees. It's a very small place in the world, and it's, you don't have to go too far to piss off your neighbor. But King Hussein was never that into it, to the point where he starts, it becomes an Arab on Arab war. It becomes, and now we're back to September of 70. King Hussein is tired of getting bombarded and temporarily invaded by the IDF because of all these terrorist attacks that are being launched out of his country by these people that are not really his subjects. Again, it was becoming a state within a state. They were, threatening his police. They were threatening, they were refusing to abide by the laws of Jordan, even though they were living in Jordan. So he goes in there to clean them out. And at first it's just to, identify certain people and arrest them and, stuff like that. Next thing you know, it turns into this whole shooting war, and the Palestinians are screaming for help. I should say the Palestinian militants. I don't want to paint everybody with the same brush. And then the Syrians hear this and they say, don't worry, Palestinians, we'll help you. And Syria invades northern Jordan. So now it's a three-way Arab-Israeli war minus the Israelis. And that's where you see, I think it's the 25th Armored Brigade, probably one of the premier units of the Jordanian Army, the Royal Jordanian Army. They are using, the reason I got on this whole tangent, the original Centurions. The Centurions with the 20-pounders. Also some M48s, I believe. And they get into it with, Syrian T-55s. And it's a big deal, man. The British Hunter, I think I have that right, the British Hunter aircraft was also heavily used by the Jordanians. Jordanians, being a former British protectorate, were very heavy into British equipment during this period. They were pretty much like a desert version of the British Army, at least in their equipment. Later on, they would even use the chieftain, I believe. And I'm pretty sure they also got involved in 73. I don't know if they got into combat. But when Syria is being like blatantly invaded by Israel, even though this is the same Syria that invaded Jordan not 3 years before, Jordan at least has to make a show of stepping up and helping Syria. Even though King Hussein, trust me, he was fighting these people in a brigade level shooting tank tactical aircraft war, not some little terrorist, counterinsurgency thing, an open battlefield war less than 3 years before, or 37 months before, September of 1970. Nevertheless, if he doesn't respond to a Israeli, this is when the Israelis were like pushing toward Damascus. This is later on in the Yom Kippur War. His own people are going to rise up against him, so he's got to at least make a show. I'm not entirely sure if they actually they actually mixed it up. Taman says he's got pics of Kahalani's command tank. I'll send some scans tomorrow. Sweet. Jen says, Tangent, you never. I'm telling you, man, I like the Arab-Israeli wars. And I like all wars. I mean, this is no huge surprise. They get grossly oversimplified. Like, one of the big Arab-Israeli wars don't have any Israelis in them. People tend to forget the Black September War. And again, that was no like, oh, we got to go clean out these terrorists. Let's launch a elite operator raid. Now that was a friggin' war. It was a very, very dark day for the Palestinian cause in general. Again, but at that point they're fighting each other. And again, that's where the Black September terrorist group would wind up taking its name. And I believe those are the guys that would eventually go to Munich. And we all know the story, what happens then. Ooh, I forgot a big part of this. Hold on. Jen says, I always love your history summaries. Everything makes sense. Well, that's not me doing it. It's all connected. It's all one big cinematic universe. And once you sort of drill down into these connections, as far flung as they may be, yeah, before you know it, the whole show, the whole puzzle starts to come together. Alright, I got 4 sets of tracks done. Let's do one more, and then we'll probably call it a night. Probably not the most blisteringly exciting stream, watching me paint tracks all night, but we wanted to make sure you guys got some content. Because I do have some of the right 30 caliber machine guns, but they're currently attached to some of my crappy tanks. Actually, that's an M60 right there. But that's a 30 caliber machine gun, nevertheless. Now, these M48s, on top of everything else, have the wrong number of machine guns. So again, these are the crappy 3D prints. I'm probably going to remove all the machine guns, all the stowage, stuff like that. And then I'm probably going to remove some of the guns too. And I don't know, turn these into wrecks or debris or something. Or give them away. Who knows? They really are bad. I'm not going to try and sell them. I would never, ever sell this to anybody because they're not good. I did the best I could painting them, but let's not mess around. They are not good. If somebody down at the club wants them, they're free to a good home, but at the moment, I'm going to cannibalize them for some of the machine guns, which I put, this isn't the model's fault, I put the machine guns in the wrong place. At least for Yom Kippur. And do obviously the big parts with the big brush, then I use the smaller brush for the little parts. These little gaps between the road wheels. And then I pick up the tank and I'm going to wind up getting it on the tank. Who needs that shit? Ooh, checking my battery. We are running low on battery, so I will wrap this up post haste. What does that say? 19% remaining. I got about 10 minutes left at most. So just enough to finish up these tracks. There's a little bit of overstepping in there, like I've been doing all night, but that's easy to clean and kind of do over as soon as the stuff dries. Do a quick check to make sure I got all my coverage. Oops, missed one little spot here. Sweet. One of the ones that's a little bit more dry. And that's our progress for tonight. Ooh, that looks like I missed a spot there as well. Thought I was done. Alright, so yeah, again, we're just putting some basic gray on the tracks, not rocket science. The trick, or not the trick, the factor to bear in mind here is that, yeah, we gotta do 5 of these tanks all at once. So we've got 10 sets of tracks all painted on there. I'm gonna do some, well, first I'll correct my focus. And then we will, so I'll wait till this dries a little bit. I'll do a little bit of corrective work, just those spots where I slightly went over a little bit. I'll probably put a bit of a green, I'll use like a dull desaturated green on this wash when I put the pin wash on this to sort of shift this a little bit back to the gold and green kind of a paint scheme. This came out a little too sand for my taste now that it's finally drying. I mean, it's not off by much. But it's fine. I might do a little bit of a green dry brush and dark wash and dry brush to make it just basically to tint it a little bit. But nothing serious. Machine guns, I gotta figure out how I'm gonna do the commander. I've got a commander picked out. I've got old school American tank commanders. Most Israeli tank commanders tended to use American gear, like their helmets. So that's easy enough. I tend to prefer Plastic Soldier Company commanders to Battlefront commanders because Plastic Soldier commanders are smaller. They're in like true 15 millimeter. A lot of times in Battlefront commanders are like these giant Hulkamaniacs coming out the turret. So it looks a little weird. So I've got some Plastic Soldier Company American stuff I'm going to use. And yeah. Put in some 30 caliber machine guns. I got a mix of M60s and the old M1919s. The old M1919s are the proper machine guns. I just don't have enough of them. But I have a mix of 240s, M240s, and M60 E3s that I'll use to also kind of fill this out. Markings, antenna, and maybe some extra stowage. And then again, these guys and my new T62s will be in the mix for a game that I believe is running, I think it's September 23rd, September 25th, something like that. And then I'll have to turn that video around relatively quickly to have it up. I think the Saturday in question, my stuff usually goes up on a Saturday night or Sunday morning. I think it's actually October 7th or October 8th That's going to go up, so it will be a little late, but we also have to stick to the Sitrep podcast schedule. And that'll be at least a 2-parter, and then I might do a Sinai game as well. There might be 4 Arab-Israeli War Yom Kippur videos for 2 games coming up in October, so keep an eye out for that. Don't make them feel bad if you can be friends with the Chonky Gepard. These things, no, I was sold bad stuff. You're not gonna make me feel bad for these things. I'm gonna, turn them into wrecks and cannibalize them for the stuff that I put on them, trying to salvage them. Like all these machine guns, all the stowage. These guys are good to go. The guns are a little chunky for the QF 20 pounders they were intended for. Fortunately, I wanted L705s, so for me, they were perfect. Okay, guys, that is going to wrap us up for another episode of the Sitrep podcast. Hopefully you guys, if not, had fun, got to chill out for a while. We're definitely running a very mellow stream today. Hopefully you guys liked it. And yeah, I'll continue to post progress on these guys throughout the weeks to come, because again, these guys do have to get ready pretty post-haste for a game at the end of September. Because again, I'm not only building these 5 Centurions, I gotta build these 5 T-62s and get the rest of my force ready. We'll have a decent force on the table for not only probably a Valley of Tears game, but also probably something in the Sinai, probably Chinese farm, so my patents can get back into the mix. Okay, guys, Damon, my God, you're still up, bro. Damn, dude, it's like 1 o'clock in the morning over there, past 1 in the morning. Good morning, Damon. It's getting early. Go to sleep. But in all seriousness, this has been Oriskany Jim. Wait, how do I do this? I can't remember my own outro. It doesn't matter. That's where we're going to leave it, everybody. Thanks very much for watching. Hopefully, drop a like if you enjoyed this content. Please remember to hit that notification bell. Also, please consider joining the Sitrep Podcast Discord. It's not there now, but there will be an auto-accept invitation link to our Discord in the description of this video. Join our community, see what everybody's up to, and best of all, show us what's happening on your hobby table. But for now, this is Oriskany Jim with the Sitrep Podcast. We are rounds complete for another episode, and as always, Tango Mike for watching.